I had a hobby too. Mine happened to be guns and ballistics. And I studied guns and ballistics as much as I could, and I wrote an article about high velocity.
So out of all my years working at Weatherby, the last 5 have been some of the most exciting. Working with Adam, with him running the company.
And to think that I get the opportunity of carrying on my grandfather's legacy 75 years later here in Sheridan, Wyoming, I mean, it really is a dream come true.
Oh, I'm home. Thank God I'm home.
On Our Mark, the Weatherby Podcast.
All right.
Okay.
On Our Mark, the Weatherby Podcast, we're going to talk about something that happened last fall, a really cool elk hunt with Adam and Brenda. And Mac, our content guy, joined along to really document the hunt, but I think, as we're going to find out, did a whole lot more than that. But let's dive into it. And it didn't start at the hunt day in October. It started much before that.
Yeah, well, Brenda and I had hunted the previous 2 years here in Wyoming in the Bighorns, just general tags. 1 year was as a non-resident, 1 year as a resident, and so then we put in for a draw unit as a party to go have a party, and you put in too.
I put in for the same unit, not because I guess y'all don't like me as much, not in your party, but that's okay.
You could have joined. We had a good party.
But then we wouldn't
in
have joined
hindsight,
it.
yeah, that's exactly right.
So it was our
Yeah.
first year putting in for the draw. Not to get too technical, but the first year we were here, we were a non-resident.
12 months to be a hunting resident.
Correct. But then it's when you put in.
12 months when you put in.
When you put in.
At time of
So
application.
we had to hunt 2 years as a non-resident while living in Wyoming, paying tax dollars, mind you. So
Yes.
Wyoming takes a residency seriously.
But
We
now
don't
we're
pay very many tax dollars here, though.
Well,
they
don't have taxes.
You were
Taxes are high here. Taxes are high.
You were residents in year 2, but you didn't make it in time for the draw. So you
Correct.
had general resident
Okay.
license.
Yes, so I could get a residence license.
but you
yes,
couldn't
you're right.
you
I
couldn't
put in for the
apply
draw.
as
The draw.
a resident during the draw season. That's the same. We were in the same boat.
Yeah.
We moved within a week of each other,
Correct.
right? So, yeah.
Correct. So anyways, this was our third season hunting here, and finally we got to put in. And so we put in for a draw unit, which, if you're not from around these parts, basically means there's going to be less hunters and more elk is the hopes.
Yes. And hopefully bigger elk if possible.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
And we
sometimes.
talked about a lot of tag stuff on our last podcast.
We
too,
did.
So if
Yeah.
you're interested in
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, you can get more info there.
Oh, thanks for the plug there, Mac.
Yeah.
I better check that out. So anyways, we come, what is it, June when you find out? It was in June.
Yep.
We were all walking around the shop here, and everybody, we were actually
we were in a
meeting.
meeting. We were in a meeting
We were in a
together,
meeting.
and I just remember going, wah, wah.
And everybody in the middle, it was actually in the conference room with
Yeah.
like 12 people, and everybody was checking their phones. What'd you draw? And then Brenda and I found out that we drew this elk hunt. So,
Yep. So that was June. And then you figure out you're going to be hunting this specific area, and then the planning begins. So what did that look like for you guys?
Oh, he had all kinds of plans because he wanted to scout everything and make his, plan A, plan B, plan
Imagine
C.
What
Yeah.
people don't know is that Adam's a planner.
Yeah.
Am I?
You know, I think so.
yeah.
I think
when it comes
so.
to hunting,
well-
depends on what it is.
I didn't know you before you were a pilot, but like a lot of pilots seem to be like planners. You got to know what the weather's going to do before and after and during and all that, everything in between. So,
Which
in a good way.
Flying
in a
was
good way,
in
you're
my
a planner.
scouting as well to make it clear.
Yeah.
That there are laws here, and I abided by those laws of when you can fly to scout and when you can't. And actually, once hunting season starts, you can't. So you can do early summer flying to just look at the elk aren't in that area; they're usually up on higher ground. But you look
topography
at the topography, where the clearings are, and those sorts of things. Just kind of where would be a good spot to pack into. So we did that. Talked to as many friends as we could. I had a guy who was helping me stack firewood, and he'd been up in there, and then you just kind of, oh, really? So whereabouts were you? Could
tell
you go
me
ahead
a
and
little
drop
more
a
about
pin
that.
right here? And so, talking to a lot of folks and doing that, and I think we had a pretty good idea. We one of the fun parts was Brenda drives a really cool Land Cruiser, an old 2000, 2000 or 2001.
I don't know.
It's a cool.
It's
It's a cool cruiser.
It's a pretty cool Land Cruiser lifted with tire. You know, she's Brenda. She's just tough. So
My car makes me look tougher.
Yeah. So we
well,
went.
I think the hunting stories
I don't even
maybe
think
make
that's
you look
possible.
tougher than that.
I went on
but,
that hunt
yeah.
with you, and that makes you look tougher than the car.
So we went up and circumnavigated the entire unit. 4-wheel drive took a whole day, kind of around, not where we were going to hunt because we couldn't get there in vehicles, but really went around the whole unit and surveyed it that way. So on the ground, in the air, on OnX maps, and all the different places to kind of
Just missing the train.
And
That's
you had
it.
some familiarity with the area too, like because
Yeah,
Connor's bear hunt.
correct.
What's funny is we went down one area, and we thought this was going to be amazing, and then we realized all the creeks, because last year was so dry, all the creeks didn't have any water in them, and so it really that changed our plan.
Yeah,
a
the
little
water
bit
changed,
over
and
that.
then really it changes. So this season's October 15th for rifle, and so you can have kind of an early snow plan and a late snow plan. So
Yeah.
you do have to kind of, keep things up in the air depending on your access points to be able to get in.
Yeah, and so I remember talking with you late summer, and you're trying to figure out the best way to get in there, and you managed a pretty clever way to get all the gear up the hill.
See, we have to preface this. When Adam goes hunting with Brenda, he has to bring more gear. Because it always snows on me, and so I get cold.
You guys got a lot up
we
the
knew
mountain.
we knew we were gonna probably pack in there and set up camp about 4 to 5 miles from where a vehicle was. So it was going to be a backcountry hunting experience to get in there, then hunt from there, and knew we could be in about 5 miles further, which is 10 miles from the truck, elk not being small animals, and us not being young anymore. Man, we were looking for ways of assistance. A couple years ago, we used mules. And so this year, Brenda, you can introduce your friends who we took up there.
We had, was it 5 or 6? We had
Six.
6 of them.
6.
We had 6 lovely llamas somewhere.
5 lovely llamas.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
And then there was
Five.
there was
one other llama included.
They all had their own
Mac-
personalities.
Mac, what are their names?
We had in order of we had no order particular. We had Hershey, who was our leader. Hershey was adorable. He was great. Then
he
we
would
had
kiss me on the cheek.
he would give
was
he
so
gave Hershey
awesome.
kisses. And there was Rocky, Domino, Cole, Emo, and then the ubiquitous other llama was Sasquatch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Didn't win MVP.
No.
We were on the car ride out there, and Adam, they were pulling the llamas in a trailer, and I'm sitting in the back seat behind Adam and Brenda. He's like, "Yeah, they have a llama named Sasquatch, and like it's the ugliest thing you've ever seen. Like you'll know when you see him." And I just saw this llama head poking out of the trailer. I was like,
That's him.
"That's got to be Sasquatch."
His teeth are the funniest, aren't they?
Llamas are weird animals, so I'll fast forward just a little bit to the end. I was able to
Teaser,
come up and
or,
help you pack
spoiler.
out, and that was so. I got to know some of these llamas too. and-
Sasquatch, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, I did. I
walked
draw
Sasquatch,
the
didn't
short straw somehow, and got to coax Sasquatch off the mountain. But he is a goofy animal. Llamas are goofy animals. Holy
They're
cow.
crazy. They hum and sing
They do.
on the trail.
I
And they
forgot
sound, we thought they sound a lot like a tauntaun on Star Wars.
That's what it was like. Like I've been watching this footage.
Could you please do that again?
That's about all I got. Speaking of Star Wars, there was about 1,000. I thought they smelled bad on the outside references between
Yes.
Adam and I, but they do look like tauntauns. They really do.
They do. Brenda really enjoyed them.
Well,
They're cool.
they are. Well, hunts are difficult, and so like the comic relief that
I didn't even think about that. That's a good point.
it was. Yeah, every time you got back, you're kind of annoyed that you'd have to like go retie the llama, but they just were so funny, and some would take cookies and some wouldn't, and some were really stubborn, and I just think they were the comic relief.
They definitely were. They just look so doggone funny. It's actually a cross between a tauntaun, Yoda, and Chewie. I think when you add them all up, the way they sound. But it.
They talk in a weird third-person sentence structure.
They're
So, oh shoot, you can edit that out.
Oh
Matt?
no, that was.
So it's fun. I mean, we could take all 6 of them in a 2-horse, bumper, tow trailer, and bring them up there. We max out at about 50 pounds of llama to kind of, keep them Keep
Upright.
them moving. Yeah, moving good. Obviously,
50 pounds of weight per llama?
total. Correct.
Okay.
Is what
Which
we.
which like fun fact about that,
25%.
which we learned, if you overpack a llama, it will sit down on the trail and it will not move.
No, it depends though. For Sasquatch, that was 4 pounds, but for everybody else,
I said overpack. I didn't say weight.
no.
Sasquatch is such a promising name. Like, he'll be strong.
He was the biggest llama. Yeah,
That was the problem. Sasquatch had a little too much to eat that summer, I think. But that's what I've heard too. Is you really there are llamas and then there are llamas, and these were great. Kind of a friend of a friend made a good friendship with this guy, and we're able to take his llamas out, which was super cool. He already called me again this year to say, hey, what are you doing this year? And we kind of fell in love with his llamas. Brenda wanted to keep Hershey afterwards and not give him back. And so, formed a friendship with this guy, which was super cool. And he was really, really, gracious to let us use not only the llamas, but the tack. I mean, you got to have a little bit of investment into it. And it's a little bit unique.
The panniers, I mean, all
Correct.
the equipment is crazy.
Yeah. I mean, but compared to horses, it's really pretty simple. In the food part, you stake them out in the ground. Like, it was like we'd take them to water every night, and it would be 2 to 3 nights, and they're just like, don't care. It's like they're really low maintenance.
So you didn't have to have 4 extra pack llamas to pack your pack llama's food in?
No. That's the thing.
It was crazy.
Yeah, they really don't. They're very low maintenance.
Cool.
Did a great job, packing everything up there, and so we enjoyed it. I mean, we were learning, and so we were kind of making fun. It was just the 3 of us on the hunt,
Right.
and so it was like we were learning how to be llama packers. I would say less than a mile from the truck. The guy who owns the llama is probably going to listen to the story. He's not going to loan them to me again. But we did have we lost something off a pack, not lost, but a pack. Something fell off a llama. I can't remember. Something wasn't tied down right, which is typical for novice packers.
Shooting sticks.
Yeah.
Well, we lost that's when we lost the shooting sticks, which that was a fun fact. Because we lost these cool carbon fiber shooting sticks, Spartan, shout out, Rob over there. And they fell off. A guy DMs me on Instagram after we got back and said, hey, did you lose any shooting sticks?
Crazy.
Yeah, went out there on public land and found
Because he
shooting sticks.
recognized the area from your picture.
Here's
Right,
the
which
thing
is
about
what you got to be careful with that.
people in the bighorns, like they're a big mountain range, like it's 1.1 million acres. But like you take a picture up there, and like the locals, like
Well, the people
They know exactly where you're at.
if you know, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's how it goes.
but it worked out well in
anyways,
this case.
right, we saw a bear.
Yep, mama
less
and
than
2
a
cubs.
mile, less than a mile from the truck. Right about that same time, we lost a pack and lost the shooting sticks. And about a mile later, Sasquatch sat down on us. So we were off to a slow start.
Oh, my gosh.
After about the first 2 hours, we finally got in stride. But like we didn't make it off to a great start, did we?
It was a rough start. But I will say another thing about this llama is like the low maintenance. Rocky or Domino, one of the white and black ones, I don't remember. He kind of spooked for a second, and we're like, oh, there must be something here. But it wasn't like a horse smells a bear. Like when we went bear hunting, the carcass of the bear alone, they wouldn't let us go back to camp.
No kidding.
The
They were
llama,
that
like
freaked out.
he went like, whoa.
Something's not right.
And then 100 yards ahead, we saw this mama and 2 cubs running away. I was like, that's like, they didn't spook at all. Every time we saw a mule deer, they were watching them. They were like so alert. It was crazy.
They're
That's
very
pretty
alert.
cool.
Yeah.
So, what did you do before going up the mountain? Like, you went in the day before season actually opened? So the 14th?
Correct. Yeah.
Yep.
Did you do anything like the 13th or before on llama training?
We packed
or-
them around our property, like maybe 100 yards down the field, the hay field.
Yeah, we tried to just like get used to them, and they got used to us, and so
Right.
we fed them cookies.
Just
and
more like relationally
And
used
walking
to
them and
yeah.
putting the putting saddles on and off, and to be honest, one of the hardest parts is just catching them. You gotta get used to. So you put them in a little small pen, and then just going and hooking the lead rope on them.
Right.
You got to kind of put your arm out. It's kind of this whole circus act
dance.
to get them,
Yeah.
and some of them are easier than others. So that took a little bit of learning.
And the other thing is they really like to be together.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if you take 2 away from the 6, they don't like that at all.
Yeah.
There was one day we had to leave Sasquatch back, and I don't think he was very happy with us.
Well, he wouldn't have been happy if it came either. That guy, you couldn't make him happy no matter
So
what.
Some
he was-
people, you just can't make
He was happy, I think, when he got back to the trailer.
So finally. All right, so you're going up on the 14th. You're mile in. One spooks. You drop some stuff. So then, are you thinking, what are we doing? Or you're like, oh, this is great.
No,
I was
it
like, let's do this.
It was a nice hike in.
I figured that was easy.
It was the
and
last
it's only gonna get harder.
last mile to camp, where we didn't know if this camp was going to be open or not.
Yes.
That we might have had to go like 3 miles further. That Sasquatch was really starting to like stop.
When you say camp, you just mean you had like a preset
There's
spot you wanted to get to?
There's a spring and kind of a flat area because we weren't hiking along the creek. You know, we weren't going to be next to a creek. We just wanted water at our camp.
Gotcha.
For the animals and for us. So we knew a water source that we were going to camp at.
Yeah.
So.
But Sasquatch was being real difficult, and we're like, if we have to make it another 3 miles, it might be like
Mac
an old.
was going to be.
It might be
Sasquatch.
an old Yeller situation or something.
And remember, we didn't have much weight on us. I mean, we had like a small backpack, but
Yeah.
they were carrying everything.
Yeah.
So we were like, this is amazing. I mean, normally we go in the backcountry and like 5
You
miles
got
in.
50, 60
yeah,
plus
we're-
pounds.
We're
And
dead.
you got to pack out your elk later if you're successful.
Yeah, I
Right.
mean, we had wood, we had kindling, we had firewood, we had compressed logs.
Well,
'cause
and on the
we
way
had
out, we
good
went by the gas station and got some box wine. Like once we realized we had llamas, you tend to just keep packing. It was amazing.
Yeah, you just bring more and more stuff.
yeah,
Sure.
yeah. So
But why not?
we were pretty comfy.
We ate good.
Yeah.
We normally we eat kind of the freeze dried stuff, and so this hunt we did different. That was one of the things Brenda wanted to do going into this year
fun.
was not do all freeze dried food. So she cooked fresh meals and then vacuum sealed the fresh meals. So in the morning we had breakfast sandwiches that she made at home, handmade.
You made stuff for Mac too?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh,
it was
man.
the best.
I needed to keep him healthy and strong.
Yeah, he was our content guy / muscle man.
Right.
Pack mule.
/ pack mule.
7th llama.
So she would. So in the mornings and evenings we would do that in our tent.
Right.
So we'd talk a little bit about our setup
Yep.
because it was a little bit different setup. So Brenda, you want to?
We had a teepee tent.
From the Seek outside?
Yep.
Yep.
Seek outside.
Shout out.
And actually we had 2 of them.
Yep.
Because Mac
Mac
had
was in
his.
one.
I don't let my employees sleep in the same tent as me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, probably.
I got the lonely cold tent.
Yeah, HR. Yeah.
Yes.
And we had a little stove, a Seek outside stove as well.
Shout out.
And that stove kind of had a flat lid to it, so it allowed us to put another pot on top of it that could heat water. Right.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
if that thing rolls up, it's I don't know, a pound and a
It's
half.
their
I'm not
it's their
even- I mean,
backcountry backpacking
I mean, it's-
stove. It's amazing.
it's
legit.
Yeah. I mean, it rolls up. It's pretty flimsy. It looks like it, but we used it and heated stuff on it all week.
Yeah.
So then we'd heat water on top, and then just when we got back, like at night, we'd be doing the llamas and doing whatever, and then Brenda just heat up the water and throw the stuff in there, and then it's cooking, if you would. It's just sitting on that hot water while we're unpacking camp and changing and getting ready for stuff. And then in the morning, you kind of get up, light the little fire, and Mac did split some wood inside the tent because it was snowing like the whole time.
It
so
was cold.
the 3 of us would just be in the tent.
Yeah.
Mac, could you split some more wood?
Probably the only time it really wasn't snowing was the pack in. We both
Yeah.
went. I was hunting
Yeah, you
general
were.
the same
When
time
Pack out.
on the 14th.
It warmed up on the pack out because then that
Yeah.
hill was. We'll
Yeah.
get to that, but it was.
But there
And
was
then
still
first day.
slush.
First day, too.
Yeah. But it did
Actually-
snow that day. It like snow. It like was like a sun shower. But I was watching the footage. I
on
kinda
opening
forgot about
day
it.
on the 15th.
On the 14th. It was
Oh,
like
really?
it was sunny, but it was like blasting snow flurries. It was super goofy.
weird. Where I wasn't all that far from you guys, but where I was in a general area, it was pretty nice walking in and getting camp set up, and then at like before first light, it still hadn't started snowing, and as soon as the sun started coming up where I was, is when it just started getting white. So it started getting white, or
It
the
wasn't that
opening
it
day.
wasn't that crazy like the morning before opening day, the 14th. But it started to do it because I had forgotten about it too. But I was watching the footage before this, and it was like, oh yeah, it was really coming down there. But that was our nicer day. It was definitely our nicer day. It got colder from there.
Yeah,
I
for
can't
sure.
remember. I'll trust you. You have the video footage.
So
evidence.
what the first day of hunting look like?
Oh, first day of hunting. Now I got to remember it. So we got into camp. We sort of just spent that day setting up and settling in.
No, the first day of hunting.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then
Okay.
we got set up. We woke up that morning, and we hiked to our first sort of clearing. So we're hiking along a path, and we're basically from Adam's and Brenda scouting. We're trying to get to these clearings along the way. There's like 4 or 5 of them that we know are within a 8-mile range of our camp. So we're heading up to the first clearing, and we start hearing elk moving through the woods besides us. And we start to smell them. I mean, if you've hunted elk, they're really
so it's
pungent.
opening morning at dark, and we already got elk.
Yeah, that's encouraging.
Yeah.
You have llamas with you, or did you leave them all behind?
We left the llamas behind that time.
Yeah.
So we're moving along, and we start hearing this cracking, elk antlers breaking, sticks, twigs, whatever. And it's in the dark. We have already basically spooked our first elk on this spot. So we sat down at this point, and we're kind of like, what's going on here? Like, what do we, are there more in the area? Do we want to find them? Should we keep moving? Because if we go out, we're at the tree line. If we go out, we're totally exposing ourselves on this big hill, which we ended up doing and spooking some more elk.
Out in the open.
In the open.
I think you and I were like, we shouldn't go out, and he's like, let's go.
Nah, let's
right?
do it.
Isn't
Wait,
that,
you know what? Here's
Adam
the
is
deal.
the most patient man I know.
you are not.
Brenda and Mac
I'd love
like
to.
to make everybody teams up on me all the time around here. So if we get some sympathy for Adam, is there a sympathy button on that?
Nope.
This is true. We did actually team up on him on the trip. We'll hold back.
True. So yeah, we did. I think we spooked a couple bulls right out there.
Nothing
the wind
huge.
wasn't great either, and
Yeah.
they weren't too large. But yeah, we were out there just like expert hunters spooking bulls opening morning. It was great.
Yeah.
Lots of sign.
So we ended up, I think, that first day. I don't know if we saw any more elk that first day after that
saw-
morning, did we?
No, we saw 5 that first day.
Yeah.
So maybe we didn't see any more
That's
after
pretty
that.
good first day, though. I mean, you're
and we
seeing
ran
elk,
into,
but no
We
shooters.
ran into the other hunter.
No,
the
no first
day
day shooters. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they were kind of all smaller bulls first day. And for that unit, we kind of knew what was there, what we're looking for, and so.
And we only saw one other hunter.
Yeah.
He was a cow hunter who had
Perfect.
hunted that area
And
like for
that was
20
it.
years.
He had seen a bull that he said was
That's
nice. So
what
we
it
were
was.
like, oh, there's another one up here.
Right.
And he told us where or whatever because he was hunting cows.
That was actually outside of you guys saw one other guy at one point when we were split up.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And
we did.
outside him and that other guy, so 2 people, that's all we saw in 5 days.
That's awesome.
It's only bodies, only human beings we
That
saw.
guy was crazy. He was going to end on like a 24-mile day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think, so people-wise, we definitely got in there where there was no people, and there was definitely elk. So we hunted the first day and kind of saw what there was to see, and knew it was worth going back to that same area the second day. So came back and took care of the llamas in the evening and made ourselves a gourmet meal. I don't know what was for dinner that night, but
What, pulled pork or something like that?
Oh,
Or
it was. Goodness.
Hey,
You have such a good
that
memory.
one's not on film.
He remembers the
We
menu.
had pulled pork. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
Nice.
dude, that was the best mountain.
That's pretty good.
I just remember
That's
the
better
day.
than the old.
we actually
I mean,
ate-
not knocking Mountain House. I can do some of those, but that's not.
we
It's
had
no home cooked
we
Brenda
had
pulled pork.
elk with mashed potatoes one night.
Yes.
Some
That
elk
was good
roast with
too.
mashed potatoes.
The day we ran out of Brenda's cooking, we all felt it the next day.
No, we're like, time to go home.
Let's be done.
It's over.
The tent smells better when we eat Brenda's cooking than when we eat.
Oh yeah,
Mama's.
there is a consequence to the Mountain House stuff. That's everybody is aware.
Yeah. So second day was an eventful day. Mm-hmm. We saw some elk in the morning, put on a lot of miles.
Yeah.
A lot of miles.
Off-trail
on
miles.
day 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
a lot
were
of
tired.
off-trail miles.
I was
Yep.
very bruised after
We were
that
seeing
day.
and chasing elk a lot on day 2, which is usually the way I like to do it.
Sure.
You can totally outrun them and smart them. It's a great way to hunt. So that's typically how I find success in the field, is chasing after them. Like some people call turkeys. Nope, running guns. Way
Yeah,
better.
chase them down.
So we did spend a lot of day 2 just chasing elk everywhere, and we had, I think, by midday, at least put on 8+ miles. I
Yeah, it
think.
was 6 to 8 by the middle of the day. It was a lot.
Yeah, at least by that point. So we ended up for the afternoon hunt on day 2. We decided to actually split up, where I was going to go further, mainly
Because we had already put on 6 to 8 miles, and he wanted to go farther. We still had at least 2 miles back to
So it was at
camp.
least-
So I was like,
more than that,
I think
3 to
I'm
4.
good.
It was at least going
Yeah.
to be 12 miles without the extra.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
And you can't ride llamas, by the way.
Right.
So,
yeah.
We never tried.
It's past the 50-pound limit. So I left them and went further, which equates to about 5 miles further in from camp.
Okay.
They were probably a mile and a half
Yeah, it
towards
was
camp
probably
from
a
me.
mile and a half, yeah.
Yeah, but not till the time I got to the top of the hill. So I go there, and they were going to glass one hill, and I was going to glass another one.
Double chances. That's what we kind of.
But I knew because I
Well,
didn't
that's
have
smart.
the camera guy and we split up, I knew I'd probably see a bull.
That's how it works.
So I showed up, sat down, and glassed this hillside I'd been excited about. That it was just further, and so sure enough, 6-point bull walks out about 1,000 yards away up on a hill. Glassed him for a while, took some pictures. Thought I'll go get a closer peek. I kind of had in mind what I was looking for this year. It wasn't exactly what I was looking for, but you still had that. It's a good
It's an
bull.
animal. Yeah, it's a good animal
It's a
right
good
there.
mature
Yeah, he
6-point
kept
bull.
saying that would be perfect bull for Brenda.
That's not because. Let's explain that.
No,
Just-
no. It would have been the biggest bull that I would have shot.
Correct.
Yeah,
so it's just different
that-
people are
no,
along their
no,
different
I didn't mean
journeys.
it that
It's
way.
not that I'm all
I
snooty
meant that I
about
wasn't
it.
there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
It would have been.
Right.
It would have
Yeah.
been perfect bull for Brenda.
Brenda and I were comfortable on a hill at this point.
What were you guys doing?
We were listening to a turkey all the way up on the mountain that we couldn't believe was up
What?
there.
Yes.
Yeah,
Way up there.
just going at it.
And we were glassing like bulls like way across
Yes,
the
we saw
ravine.
'em way-
like
like
a
couple
mile.
thousand
Like a
yards
couple
away.
miles away.
Yeah,
like
but
a
that
couple
one who
miles
just
away.
sprinted back and forth like
Yeah.
2 separate times. There were no hunters over there. He was just like,
getting his
yeah.
calisthenics in.
You couldn't have got. It would have taken
it would have taken a day.
6 to 8 hours to hike to where you guys saw.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because
yeah.
of the
So it was
terrain.
just
It was
fun to
impassable.
watch. It was fun to watch.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So they were out there listening to turkeys and watching bulls 2 miles away. Go
Real
ahead.
quick,
Yeah.
the plan. So the plan
I was
was,
about to ask.
we didn't have two in-reaches. We had one in-reach. And
I
so
think there was another one back. You can't. No, you had the other one.
he had the
Luke.
other one, I think.
So good news is I could in-reach Luke that
It's
was
good.
50 miles away. That was
Yeah,
helpful.
yeah. Also in the back country. So yeah.
So we're figuring, we're carrying some large Weatherby Magnums, and we're like, oh, if Adam shoots a bull over there, if we shoot one over here, we're gonna hear it. Like it's a mile away.
Yeah.
Suffice to say, as the story will unfold, we may not have heard gunshots.
So we had the. What was the plan then?
if we
we
heard
heard a
shots,
shot.
head towards the shot.
There you
And
go.
if we
Yeah.
don't,
Stay here, Adam's
stay
further.
here,
He'll
and
come back to
he'll
us.
come
Right.
and we'll go back together because we didn't want to go back to camp and not know.
So
if
I
it
was
gonna be
well
safe.
aware of the plan, and I stuck to the plan.
Mm-hmm.
These knuckleheads over there must have had their iPod.
Yeah.
What
It
are
was
those?
that
What are the ear
turkey.
things?
You're thinking
know.
of Apple AirPods.
There you go. They
AirPods.
probably had those in listening to music or something because I didn't
We're
hear.
just listening to turkey
So
calls.
anyways, so I go and say, I'm going to go get a closer look at this bull. So I got up there, got within about 600 to 700 yards of him. I must have been, I think it was about a mile away at the beginning. Anyways, I got to within 600-700 yards, and I just said, he kind of went into the trees a little bit, and then I said, I'm going to go shopping. There was a clearing way up on top, on the tippy top, and because we'd been in that area another day, we sat there.
Yes.
that morning.
That was
Yes.
that morning, so we did make it that far. Morning.
First morning. Morning one.
Oh,
Okay.
first
Morning
Morning
one.
one. Because then we realized where we
Yeah.
thought we might want to go was like another
that's
4
right.
miles.
So anyways, so I said, I'm going to go up here and kind of see. So I went way up on top, said, if I pass him right now, it's day 2, I'm okay passing this bull. And so I went up where I thought the big bulls were, didn't see any elk. It's getting just about dark about this point. And as we knew we'd been checking the weather. You can check the weather on the inReach, and we did know snowstorm was coming in that night. Yeah. And so
Ooh, it's a good one.
I was on my way down that hill, and then I shot that bull. on
Just
my
like
way
that.
out.
Because it was like 200 yards.
Basically, it popped out. It came way closer to me when I was up there shopping for an hour or two and looking and glassing. He'd made his way towards me, unbeknownst to me, and the wind was just right. And I came down there. He was right across a little draw, and literally, I just put my pack on the ground, put it in there, said, yeah, that's that mature 6, and then just rolled him down the hill. So it was one of those like
What just happened?
I just went, I just filled my tag. And then I was like all excited. I'm like, nobody's here, and the camera guy's not here, my wife's not here, and now it's dark, and there's a snowstorm, and I just shot a bull,
Yep.
and he's in the woods.
Yeah. And he had
So-
tumbled. Did you?
Yeah, so here's what happened. What happened was I heard the thump. I was shooting a good cartridge.
a good one.
It's a good one. Same one we used
More
a lot
later.
last year. More to come
Yeah.
on that in future podcasts.
Yes.
Teaser. And so I knew what this thing could do. And anyways, I heard him. He basically walked into the trees because he was in a tiny clearing. He was on a very steep hill. and then I heard like a refrigerator roll down an entire hill. That's exactly what it sounded like
That's
in
a-
the
that's a
very
good,
thick brush.
I can
it
hear
was
it.
all the way down to the bottom. And I went, got him. It was getting very near dark. I knew by the time, even though he was a 200-yard shot, there was some nasty stuff to get over to him. I said, by the time I get there, it's going to be just about dark.
Yeah.
So I took a picture of the area, kind of like put my finger up there and pointed. So when I got up there, sure enough, I get up there and I'm looking around, but I don't know exactly where he went down. So it gets dark, and it starts snowing. I'm 5 miles from camp. I don't know for sure if they've heard me, and I'm stumbling around a very, very steep mountainside. You guys later saw it another day. And it was very steep, very rocky, slippery, fell a handful of times. It was one of those, like, you know in the movies when there's the old guy, like, stumbling around and he just looks like a fool? Like, I started to feel like that. I realized by this point, because at the end of that day, I think I was 17 miles.
17 miles.
At this point, I was, 11
There's
to
some
12,
fatigue at that
11 to
point,
12 miles
for
into
sure.
it of some hard, steep country. And I just was tired, and I was stumbling around. And literally, it starts to snow enough where I can't, I knew where he was standing. I knew where he went in the brush, and I knew where he fell down.
But you started to get disoriented. You were like,
Yeah,
kind of
if
disoriented.
you looked at my Onyx track, I mean, it looked like a 1.5-year-old drawing in a Sunday school class. Like it was just, I just went everywhere within this square thing. I found it.
All this time, it is dark now, and so Brenda and I stayed behind, and part of the reason we did is Adam was going to go another mile in, but if you know Adam, when he's going another mile...
That could be like 5.
Yeah,
you don't know.
It's like, well, we're going to chill here and see if any elk come out a little closer.
So did you have a rendezvous point, or was it just camp?
It was just right where we were. Like, he was going to come...
I was
So you
gonna
had
walk
to
his-
come
I
back.
dropped
Just
them
right
off
on
on
the
the
trail.
trail.
Gotcha.
Basically, they were going to glass kind of from the trail.
Okay.
And so I was going to meet them there. Or they were going to come to me if they
we
heard a
heard a
gunshot.
So we didn't hear Adam's gunshot.
So you're just hanging out. Where's Adam?
we're just
It's
hanging
getting
out in the
dark.
dark.
Or it's past dark.
It's dark now.
past dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's dark.
Past dark, snowing.
It's been like 30 minutes past dark, and all of a sudden I'm like,
He should be.
I think we need to start walking that way because I'm just not feeling great about all this. I get to be kind of a worrywart in that situation.
No, I feel
So-
loved. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
So
we
you started walking
'Cause
towards
I
me.
kept thinking, okay, what if he like fell and hurt his ankle and he actually can't walk? Then we have to like go. That it's not what I said.
During this time where we're like kind of like a little getting worried, I'm like, okay, if we don't hear anything or see him in like the next 15 minutes, we're gonna fire a couple shots in the air just to get some attention.
Yeah.
During this time though, we're a little worried about Adam's well-being. Brenda tells me like the worst possible story ever
When I fell off the cliff. And
about
so.
Adam falling off a cliff and
okay,
breaking
that was
his
20
hip.
years ago. I broke a hip, an ankle, and a wrist. It wasn't a big deal. I was in a wheelchair, but it was fine. Anyways, back
Kind
to
of
the
sounds
hunt.
like a big deal.
I was like, this is probably not the story to tell right now.
Yeah. So
they-
now you're totally like, he's fine. Oh my gosh.
So they start walking towards me. Well, of course, I didn't know. I knew. Here's what happened. I was hustling, trying to look for this elk. I wanted to get the guts out of him that night because I didn't want to spoil meat.
Right.
And I knew obviously that night we weren't packing back to camp. We didn't have the llamas there.
Right.
And obviously, it'd have been we'd have been through the whole middle of the night trying to get this thing back because we knew it would take hours. And you do have to debone them and put them on llamas. Otherwise, it's just too much weight and too much size. You're not going to put a hind elk quarter on a llama. So it is a little bit more work in the field to try to get them on the llamas. But anyways, the llamas weren't even there. So I just wanted to find them, confirm my kill, get the guts out of them. And I've done that, plenty of times before in the field. And so I started to give up, though, and it just couldn't. On this hill, super brushy. It just was like, man, how could you not? You heard them go down. It wasn't that far. It's when you've been out there in those kind of situations.
Well, dark and snowing. And the snow's disorienting. Like, you can just get...
Yeah, and then you can't see the moon. You can't see any other hillsides. And it's just... So, anyways, I ended up giving up at some point and saying, I'm fatigued. It's late. They don't know where I'm at. In hindsight, you can say, well, should you have shot him that night? And, all those different things and being in there and, I just usually...
I think we all agreed we would have taken the shot. So
Yeah, it was a nice bull. We were there. I mean, it was... And
wasn't-
I just didn't know. Yeah. I
You
couldn't...
knew he went down.
I couldn't
It wasn't
find...
like
Here's
you
the other
took
thing.
a
If I had
double
another
shot.
person or two helping me out, too, we could have just split up because you could
problem.
only see so little,
Yeah.
when you were there. Anyways, and I didn't know it was as thick as it was where it was. So gave up on it, but I was about 99.9% sure he was dead, probably within 50 yards of somewhere I walked.
Yeah.
And so I walked down, just getting down back to the trail, probably took me close 30, 45 minutes. And going down through steep, thick stuff, just off-trail kind of nastiness. And that's when, I was trying to hurry, and I knew they were probably worrying. So got back on the trail and started walking. I'm like, I'm probably going to be in trouble, even though I did what I said we were supposed to do. And then I saw the 2 headlamps coming my way.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And he was pretty tired when, we were.
Yeah, I was tired. I think it was 17 miles.
You had 17 miles. I think Brenda and I ended up doing like 14. So
yeah,
it was a long trip.
It was just a long day.
A long day,
A lot of steep terrain and stuff like that. So we get all the way back to camp.
So you meet up and then you go to camp.
Yeah.
At that point,
It's like 10 o'clock.
No
or something,
sense in
going back that night. The snow is coming in. We're fatigued. We need to go to camp. We need to come back in the morning.
But that's a hard.
At that point, you got to go safety first.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
That's a hard spot to be. Like a lot of people have, at least you're sure you heard it tumble down like the fridge, right? So,
yeah,
correct.
But it's a hard spot to be is to think, oh man, I left that thing out there.
And
And there's just always that shadow of doubt that's in the back of your mind. It's no fun.
It's not like we were carrying a spike camp or anything, too. Like, all of our stuff was
Yeah.
back at, like, we had to go back. Like, you're not spending the night out in that.
In the snow.
Yeah, we were kind of like, Adam, we're going back. We'll get in the morning. It's going to be fine.
Which killed me.
Sure, I bet. Yeah.
But it was very much, there wasn't really a choice in that.
Yeah. So we did. We went back and
Well,
we
so
devised a plan.
how much snow do you think you got?
We kept checking
Well,
the
we hiked
forecast
back
a lot.
the next morning. So we went back.
Yeah.
We got up the next morning. And how much snow was on the ground that we were hiking through?
It was like
8?
6 to 8 inches.
Yeah, I think where I was, it was around 6 or so.
It was coming down.
So
Yeah.
the whole hike, so the 5-mile hike the next morning was in
Fresh snow.
6 to 8.
And that was the
some things-
coldest day, I think, as
Yeah.
well, as
Yeah.
far as temps go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cold, which we were hoping would keep the elk,
Yeah.
nice and cool. It's not like this was an early September hunt or something
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
not 75 degrees out.
No. It's
And we
cold.
brought all the,
We brought
Well,
3 llamas.
we brought 3 llamas. You're right.
3 good llamas.
Oh, to pack it out makes
The 3
sense.
best,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, because you got to pack. You can't really pack the antlers on them like you can a horse, and you can't really pack a gun on them. So we knew that the head we're gonna have to go on our back.
Yep.
So we figured we could debone, and between our backs and the llamas do that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And get the elk back in one trip. So, yeah.
So you head back.
We head back, and we get to the spot where Adam shoots it. And actually, it was great that he took the picture on his phone, like he talked about. He had his whole track on Onyx from that night, because without that, I don't think we would have had as easy of time looking as we did. We basically went up to where Adam made his shot. He pointed across, showed us the picture. He's like, "This is where I shot him. This is the clearing." Made our game plan, brought the llamas down, and then we fanned out on a line.
So we were going to cover.
Oh, and then just tried to go
We went to
move
the
down.
top, and let's say there's a big square. We were going to weave back and forth, say 30 feet apart.
Yep.
And weave left to right up it,
Yep.
from the top all the way down this hill.
It was steep. It was a steep hill for sure.
It was at least 20%.
Yeah.
I don't know how to measure
And covered
grades,
in
but
snow.
At least 20%.
It looked like this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was a steep hill.
Yeah, it's very hard to walk on steep.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we went, and I would say 15 to 20 minutes.
Yep.
Oh,
It wasn't
not even
long.
that, yeah.
So how far from your last track on Onyx from the night before were you 50
He was
yards?
further down, and the hill kind of sloped, so he did go further than I thought.
Gotcha.
A little bit. He rolled further down the hill. So I think it was, but 70 yards maybe or something like
Oh,
that.
wow.
From
So you were
probably
super close,
The
but-
closest.
He basically made it to the bottom of the hill and stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Folded up over himself.
right.
Yeah, he was just further. The hill was sloped like this. There was these ravines, so it rolled down the hill, but then sloping, say, to the left or whatever.
Gotcha.
And so he went more to that left than I had thought.
Sure,
So
that
he
makes
kind of
sense.
rolled diagonal down the hill. I don't know
Yep.
if I'm describing that correctly, but rolled a little more down. So yeah, and he had. I mean, if you look in the pictures, he had inches of snow piled up on him. You
Yeah.
know, from
Yeah.
being there all night. So yeah, so then
So then the work starts.
The work started.
basically that day was that. That
Yeah.
was day 3, and day
Whole
3
day.
was retrieving the elk.
Cut it up, bring it back.
Deboning 'em.
We were 6 miles from camp. So
Yeah, yeah. So
But not. I mean, if the llamas carried most of the meat or all the meat.
Correct.
Which that's awesome. So
Yes.
it's not like you had to burn a ton of energy, just time of the hunt.
It helped for sure. Like
Correct.
we
And in the
slept
snow,
a
it's
little.
harder to walk.
Yeah.
We slept in a little that day because we had such a late. But it's not like we got to a late start, and it took all day. Like we got back to camp at.
I was
dark.
anxious to try to go retrieve them as quick as I could,
Sure.
preserve that meat, and, get up there and do
Did
that.
you
So-
even try to look for any other elk like while you're out there? 'Cause
Well-
Brenda still has a tag.
Yeah.
We had guns.
Kind of, but we were kind of like, we
Uh,
kind of need to
we
deal
gotta
with
get
this
Let's not
this
get
done.
our. We already were in a situation.
Yeah.
We didn't want to
'Cause
get
we
in
had-
another
yeah.
I
situation.
think it would have had to be a real gimme and about a 400 class bull just standing 50 yards away.
it's
Like,
kind of like,
all right.
we
Yeah.
need to deal with this first before we
Yeah.
start on another.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we experienced our first llama pack, which
Yeah.
was pretty much.
yeah.
That was great.
I mean,
They did great.
It was perfect. It was flawless.
So you brought the 3 varsity llamas.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we left the JV squad, and one of the kids who didn't make the cut.
Sasquatch didn't leave the camp after we got there until we left the camp. He never
it
came
was
on the excursion.
Cole,
Gotcha.
Hershey,
And
and Rocky.
Rocky, I think, because Domino was hard to saddle. He was a rock star, but he was hard to saddle.
Yeah, once
So
you got
we're
him
like,
saddled, he was good, but
So we had a great pack out though. It all went good, but were we back at dark?
it took us all day.
So that's a full.
And there
I
was-
think we
and-
got back at dark. After
Yes,
dark.
full day.
And we had been checking the Onyx. That was the day I think the major snowstorm part was supposed to come. So we were trying to beat that too.
Yeah.
Or with the not Onyx, but the
InReach.
There
Yeah.
was
we got back multiple days where we could barely see the tent. It was just snow.
Yeah, I actually that day I was on a backcountry elk hunt solo, and I decided to just leave. Like I pulled out because
That was the bad time.
my boots were soaked. My pants, I woke up, they were like it's like the cartoon pants that are just frozen completely solid and flat. I was like, oh my
Remember how
goodness.
cold it got? The lead ropes for the llamas were
Yeah.
like pipe cleaners.
Yes.
Like you couldn't bend them. They were like
Frozen.
steel
Yeah.
rods. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yep. And then the stove inside is great, but it would melt the
All the
snow
snow.
outside the tent. So we just had like kind of a rain.
You
throughout the whole
can get a
time.
liner. We actually have a liner here in the office. That
Yeah.
would have been a great extra,
Yes.
several ounces to bring with us to keep us dry. We didn't bring the liner. So if you do the stove, there's a lot of condensation.
Make sure you bring the liner.
Bring the liner. It's
Yeah.
a good add-on.
Yeah, there's your pro tip.
We were
right
blessing
there.
the rains down in Africa in that tent. It was
Yeah.
it was moist.
It was quite moist. But yeah, so there's a first successful elk right there that we got back to camp and kept the meat nice and cool. And
So now Brenda's up to bat. Oh, you got that night. You probably had like seafood and steak.
I think it was
Yeah.
lobster tail. And
surf and turf.
Can't remember.
Yeah.
Can't remember.
that may have been the elk dinner day,
the
just
elk and
because we
mashed
felt
potatoes.
like we needed that. I don't
What else did
remember,
we
though.
have? What else
Was there a
on the menu?
lasagna? I think I remember.
There was a
list.
pasta, wasn't
there
there?
was a pasta.
remember
It
that.
was a chicken pasta.
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
I think we had 3 dinners or 4 dinners.
3 or 4.
Yeah.
Because we ran out on the last day, I want to
Yeah.
say.
And we had the breakfast sandwiches, and then we actually went for the Heather's Choice shout out, which is a more
Yeah,
healthy
those are
alternative
really
to,
good. Shout
to
out.
the instant meals and stuff. So we had some breakfast Heather's Choice though, and we're like,
Yes.
oh, we did miss the fresh eggs.
Those
It was
sandwiches
still
were-
good and fresh. Appreciate them.
It was a
So-
it was a tough hunt, and I gotta say that coming back to the warm tent / the food, that was that was key. That was a major key to surviving.
Having the
that
heat
hunt.
source is nice. I probably would have stayed in if I could dry my stuff out and overnight, but I just was wet and frozen stiff. It was rough.
Yeah. It's so funny how those things, like looking back and right now, makes me want to be there so bad. But when you're there that night and it's
It just-
wet, you put in 10 to 15 miles.
The struggle is what makes it so memorable.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. If it's not miserable, it's not memorable.
That's right.
True. It is.
That's right.
So it
Yeah,
was,
about a mile in, we'd be hiking back, and it'd always be Mac would be like, so Brenda, what's for dinner?
He worked hard,
We
but
look
he
forward
ate.
to
He
it.
ate
I was
well,
a
too.
hungry boy. I appreciated that when there was an extra sandwich that we had set aside for somebody who might have come, that I got the extra sandwich. That really made my day.
Oh yeah, you ate more than us, but you worked hard.
I eat a bit.
Yeah.
I'm burning. I went down a whole belt loop on that trip. Like I'm not even kidding. Like I was like, whoa.
Packing with old Mr. and Mrs. Weatherby.
That's awesome.
We did.
And Sasquatch.
At the end, it was like 55 miles in 5 days or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
So we're back to day
Brenda's
4.
Brenda's up
There's
to
one
bat.
thing I want to say, though. Trips like this, like, you just get to be friends.
Oh.
And so, Max, you've worked for us for like
couple years now.
couple years. Yeah. But this trip like solidified our friendship, not just that you work for us.
It was a blast. Really cool. I have to say, after 2 years in a row of elk hunting with you guys, I was a little sad to know that Adam's going with a different crew this year. I was like, well, okay.
Well, he still has to take me, so
There we go.
You can still video me.
And I know if all three of us go, it'll be freezing cold and it's going to snow heavily. So
always
looking forward to it.
That's probably how that'll go. Yeah.
But day 4, we are exhausted. We're in this for a while now.
Snowing.
It's snowing.
Again.
It snowed
A lot.
heavily and is still snowing at this point. So we decided to maybe check some new country out.
It was a bit closer to camp.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're filling Brenda's tag. So what did we do about that day 4, Brenda?
Well, I think it was a short hike because the day before was so long, 2 days before. So we kind of went more towards the truck, I'd say like a mile towards the truck, down kind of this ravine. It was beautiful country. We actually saw some elk, just some kind of little guys. Yeah. And we took some amazing pictures. We sat and looked and
Saw moose.
and looked.
Saw moose a couple days.
Yeah. So
That's
it
awesome.
could have been just as easy that a big guy, came out right there.
They're everywhere. In there.
Yeah. So it wasn't a wasted day. It was just we wanted to try out some different terrain. But we definitely realized, okay, up on that trail where we saw those elk, that's where the elk are. And so
we're the bigger ones.
Yeah, we kind of were like, you know what? Tomorrow we really have to.
At the end
put
of
in
day
time.
4, it's kind of like they always, I always say, don't leave elk to find elk. And
Yeah.
we were in elk those first few days up in the same general direction.
Yeah.
But yet we said, you know what? Let's kind of go see. But we hadn't seen any monsters either.
Yeah.
And so we said, let's go take day 4 to give it a good look somewhere else. If we don't see anything there too
Makes
promising, let's head back on day 5 to that other spot, which was our last day.
Yep.
We had some commitments that we had to get back for, so this was a 5-day hunt.
Yeah, and I think there was one point on day 4 where we were like, well, should we stay till day 6 and leave early? And we kind of thought, we're kind of gassed. Like, I think we were like, we have one more good day in us, so let's go hard for this day.
Well, we were out of Brenda's homemade food at that point.
That was the key.
The box wine was getting low.
My wipes, my field wipes froze that morning.
Yes.
The dude wipes?
Yeah. I woke up that morning. Fortunately, I realized they were frozen before taking any action. But like,
This is when you go out to the llamas too, and then they got icicles forming off their.
Oh, all of their eyelashes.
Yeah, they're frozen eyelashes, and then they're
like,
and to me, we kind of felt bad, like, oh, this, like, but then we also realized, like, these guys live in the Andes, like, it's pretty cold up in the tops of those mountains, so they're probably built for this.
They looked kind of miserable.
They were
though.
Tennessee llamas though, so they're probably softened up.
So we had committed to getting up and hunting the morning of day 5. And if by lunch we had nothing too promising, we were going to pack out with just my elk and not Brenda's and figure out later in the season to go back up and to try to figure something out because it's, not too far from here.
Gotcha.
So we'd made that decision. So with that, day 5 happened.
Yeah.
So we went back up to kind of our premium spot
Prime
that was
Hill.
only less than 2 miles from
money
camp.
we spooked 5 the first day, and that spot was where
It was
we'd
the
see
old. The
most
problem
elk.
is you have to walk. It's hard to go around where I think they're bedding. So in the wind direction got us every time. So we knew it's where the elk were, and we just from the hunting
Hard to make a right play.
strategery side, we were having some issues, and so we said let's give it one last go on morning 5. So we went and sat out there, and
Right away, we had some elk come out.
Yeah.
Far.
Yeah.
no, what? Yeah, I
Yes.
couldn't remember. Yes.
Yes, yeah, we saw 3 or 4 right
Yeah.
away, far,
Yeah,
but they were
that's right.
far.
Yeah.
They were 800 yards,
Yeah.
I think, when we first saw them.
Gotcha.
And we were
Okay.
like, all right, let's just keep watching them.
Yeah.
And then they came closer, but not too close.
And then we realized that we'd blown elk out of that area every time. They're pretty
Right.
spooky in there. The wind was not great.
The wind was bad.
There's really no way to put a stock on
There's
it.
no cover in between us. We're in the middle of a field backed up. We're in the middle of like a field backed up as a tree is sort of our back shadow or whatever you want to call it.
Backstop.
Yeah.
And there's only 2 trees in the whole field. So it was like,
So it's like if
can't
we
really-
move from here, there's no way.
there's
We're
no-
hosed. So it ended up being we were watching, and how many bulls came out?
It was 4 total.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of roughly the same size. There was one that was bigger than the rest of them.
Yes.
But they were all in the same class, roughly.
Yes.
And I mean, I had eyes on him. We were watching him. I felt, really steady. So we're kind of sitting there like, well, what do you think? And we wait.
This is where losing the shooting sticks also came into play.
Yes.
We didn't have.
So we yes.
We had a tripod.
We used Max Camera's tripod, kind of put a jacket on it. We weren't in a spot where we go prone and there was too much snow on the ground.
Yeah.
But we're looking at a 580-yard shot. And so
So when you say you were steady on it, you were like on your rifle
I was
through
on
the
my-
scope,
Oh,
not
for-
just on binos.
for a while.
Okay.
They were
For
grazing.
20,
But
30
they were
minutes.
grazing.
Oh, so you're just
So I
watching.
had tons of
We
time
debated
to
let him walk for a bit.
feel good or not.
But they
feel
were
good.
Right.
grazing to not us.
Yes.
They were about ready to be in the trees.
Oh, so it's like it's now or never.
But we had 20 minutes, so I was,
Think
it
was
wasn't
that long? Maybe.
It was 10, 15 minutes
Okay.
where we
Yes.
sat because they went behind
Yeah.
the hill and then they
Yeah,
came
they
back
came
up
back
and
out
we were
again.
kind of like, do we want to take this long of a shot, make a move?
Yeah, so it wasn't. I don't do really great if things are really rushed. That's
Right.
probably the worst situation for me in hunting. And so I wasn't. And so it was kind of like we could just
Me too.
sit back and forth and talk.
Oh wait,
Elk,
I'm opposite.
dead elk.
We could pro and con it for a long time. But at that point, I'm like, well, we have an opportunity. I feel really good on this shot. You kind of even had me, you were even kind of bracing under my arm. And, so it was like all that.
Had
which helps.
a good cartridge, good rifle, good setup on top. Had a Loophole VX5 HD maybe.
Yeah, it would have been that.
Um,
She's rocking that custom Camilla.
Yep.
Yeah.
That beautiful
Custom
gun.
Camilla with the carbon fiber barrel. And so, yeah, I mean, she was dialed in. She'd already been moose hunting with this gun. She'd been hunting a lot. Was real
Yep.
comfortable
Yeah,
with this
and-
gun.
and
She killed a moose at 404
80 yards or something.
That one I
or
don't know.
something, 450
Yeah.
at least.
You weren't there on that.
Yeah,
one.
it
So
was like
she'd been
470,
comfortable.
480.
Not
So
far.
I kind of was like,
Well,
Let's go for it.
let's go for it.
It was,
Yeah.
it was that or probably not eat
Or
taxi,
head
but,
home.
Yeah,
Yeah,
head home.
Yeah.
or head home.
At that point.
Yeah.
So she made the first shot, and missed the first shot. And
could you tell
was-
how?
I
If
was
it was
watching.
high or
It was
low?
Just high.
It
Okay.
was high.
Yep.
And so I reached up, and I'd done a lot of ballistics on this thing and kind of knew what was going on. And so I twisted her turret.
Yeah, and so what did the elk do at that far away? They're
Nothing.
not. They're
Well,
just
no,
going to be like,
no,
what was
it didn't-
that?
He was like,
He stopped and looked up and
Yeah,
around.
sure.
And we knew, okay, they're going to be
Yeah.
leaving here pretty quick.
Right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of times Max got this cool camera with the big zoom on it, and then you can really watch it and see exactly where it hits.
Yeah.
But she was using the tripod as shooting sticks, so we couldn't.
So
use-
you couldn't.
can't
You weren't on
steady
the
it.
FCA.
I finally got my.
Yeah.
I finally got my elk kill shot, but it's freehand. So like when the muzzle brake right next to my hand
Yeah.
goes off, I was like, "Brrr."
freehand at 1,000+ millimeters of zoom. That's real good. Yeah.
And
out all
when
right,
we
though.
were ranging him, we were like, okay, I think he's, sometimes it's a little bit difficult to know
Yeah,
exactly
the weather
the
wasn't
range.
nice the whole time, so it's
Yeah.
like
So
we were getting
on
on-off ranges with the snow too.
Yeah.
So we knew we might have been a tiny bit off on that.
And I actually, another shout out, I also used Zeiss.
Shout out.
Their range finding binos with Bluetooth connectivity.
Yeah.
And so
those things are
so
Pretty
so.
amazing.
it gave me all the data as well. So when I was ranging, I knew what her turret needed to be at. If I could.
So
get
you
a
had all the
proper
dope
range.
like on your phone or in the
No.
binos.
In the
binos
Yeah.
because you sync it in your phone. You get all your ballistics in there in your phone. You sync that in. So I'm not using the phone at that point. All I'm doing
Gotcha.
is using the binos, but I'll range it and it'll tell me what my MOA is.
Yeah, those are sweet.
Based upon your range, your temperature, your angle, and all the ballistics, ballistic coefficient, and all. the
And
different
he was
things
like,
from that,
well,
so.
"Did you feel so?" I said that I
So
felt
she
like
said
I
she
shot
felt
exactly
solid.
where
We've
I
hunted a
should've.
lot together, so I know her, and I'm
Right.
like, okay, I don't think she pulled it, so I'm gonna dial this thing. And so I twisted the dial, and she made a money shot.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So we knew it hit well, and we saw.
he hunched up.
He
did the old
hunched
hunch,
up hard.
the old vital hunch.
Yeah.
Yes, but
So,
but the one
in
thing
the
is,
boiler room.
we
so-
really thought that it was like he was on the top of this hill. So we thought hopefully he'll roll towards us.
Right.
we actually
or-
didn't really know it was off the backside.
Or he'll run on the flat.
Or go to the trees, yeah.
the
Something like
back,
go
Or
straight
right?
go to the trees. We had no idea that there was the steepest hill in the world that went for 700 miles
So-
right behind him.
So he fell into
He
a canyon,
rolled
basically.
like nobody's business. Got up, rolled.
He tobogganed.
Got up, rolled.
Yeah,
Got
on the
up,
camera,
rolled.
before he went off the backside, because she dropped him. Or
Yeah.
He hunched up, he dropped, tried to get up, kept dropping. Over a period of like 7 seconds, you know.
Sure.
Like we're just like dead elk. Like he
Dead
can't even
elk.
stand.
It,
Like
it hit him in a great spot.
There was no reason that we weren't worried.
No
at all.
follow-up shot. No-
we weren't
Well, you
expecting
couldn't really
a long
get a
track.
follow-up shot.
Yeah,
You couldn't
Gotcha.
get
He
it.
went behind the hill, but like not expecting to have to track this animal at all.
We were figuring maybe 50 yards he was going to
He'll be right there.
Maybe 100.
Sure.
He's going to be right there.
Okay.
So we celebrated, and we're like, man, this is awesome.
And we brought the llamas that morning too.
We
We
did.
did.
Yeah. We had some.
All of them.
We were very optimistic. No, we
was
didn't.
still like
squash.
three.
Morning
No
Saturday.
squash.
Yeah. No, let's not be silly. So, poor guy.
He got benched.
Poor guy.
Yeah. You can ride the pine today, Squatch.
So we went to find this elk.
So we got the llamas and brought them with us, right?
Yeah, they were just like 100
Yeah.
yards behind us.
Yeah, yeah.
So we went and
Yeah.
grabbed them.
I
Yeah.
can't remember.
Yeah, we did, didn't we?
Yeah.
So you got the llamas, you're walking up, and you're
To
like,
go retrieve
there's
this
going to be a
elk.
dead elk right here? This is
Or
perfect.
blood trail and whatever. So we get up on top, see blood immediately. There's snow everywhere. And then we kind of track him towards this, kind of this hill that keeps going and keeps going. And then we get up to the backside and look at a hill that's barely humanly possible. And
So a cliff.
And
If
just
Adams
see-
was 20%, this was at least 35.
I don't know. percent.
I don't know the
know.
percent grades either.
Llama-ly possible.
Well, we did figure that out later because then we just saw blood going down this hill in
Just a-
like a
just a-
slide,
Yeah,
a blood
it-
slide.
like an
like
elk-
not drops,
yeah.
but like
Just a
Elk is a big animal, and it's like
Looked
going
like
through
a
a
toboggan.
snowshoe.
A
We
luge.
described it as a toboggan with a blood bag on the back of it, just
Oh,
pouring
man.
out just
Yeah.
down this hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we didn't see the elk at this point.
Oh, so it's like a ways.
Yes. So there was a clearing of at least 200 yards straight down that we could see. Okay, he's not there, and we could. So we decided. Did we bring the llamas initially down that?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we did. We just straight up took them.
So
Yeah,
we
'cause
just
I did
kept
do the
taking
hill
them.
twice.
We didn't want to do it twice.
And we just kept going down.
We just kept going down and
Just
kept,
kept
going
going
down
down.
and kept going down.
Following a trail of wreckage and snow.
And there was a
sled.
few like spots where it would cliff off, like a 10 or 10 foot cliff of just rocks. I mean, I was starting to feel bad for this animal because he
Yeah.
hit a lot.
He had a pretty violent
So,
last
Yeah,
minute.
I think the bullet was probably great, and
so
it was a
we
lot.
we ended up finding him.
Yeah,
And he had a broken jaw.
2 broken
and
legs.
His front legs were broken.
Wow.
His jaw was just there. And
he was.
we, so Brenda made a great shot and got a great elk, and we celebrated that. We said we had to get one that morning,
Yeah.
and we
It was
did it.
great.
So it was super cool. We were also down in this hellhole.
About a quarter to 3/4 of a mile, something like that. It was a long way down the hill.
So
it was
how
just
far do you think
steep.
he ended up sliding?
I think it was a little over 400 yards, like just straight.
a
slope.
long
I thought
way.
it was longer than that.
Maybe it
I
was.
thought it was like 700.
Yeah.
So a long way.
It seemed like 4 miles.
long way.
It seemed like 4 miles.
Wow.
Yeah.
But it was straight down. So even field dressing and deboning the elk
It was so
He got caught on a log.
was quite an ordeal. He was wedged in this log, and we didn't want to lose him and have him roll down
Oh,
the
so
That
hill.
log
it
was
was-
the only reason, and the log was split too. It was the only reason he didn't go further to the
So he didn't
bottom
just
of
stop
this
at the
hole.
bottom. It was a precarious,
Oh, no, we were
like,
hundreds of yards still
Yeah.
from the bottom of this jaw.
He was wedged in a broken log.
that's
yeah.
brutal.
Yeah, and so we
You didn't pack a winch on the llama?
No, we didn't.
Bummer.
So we tied up the llamas and started cutting up the elk. It took longer than normal.
Snow,
the-
slippery,
Yeah, it was
steep.
difficult.
Correct. It was
Yeah.
sunny out.
It
at
was
this
starting to melt the snow, which made it even worse.
Yeah, it was very wet.
Yeah.
And so it was definitely a lot of work getting this elk, all cut up. But we did,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
got the elk cut up. And
So I'm trying to remember back. Is that the same day you packed out, or was
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Same day.
So I remember you sent me an inReach like Brenda just shot a great elk, and I'm like, great. Let me know if you need help, because I was done. I had shot one the day before. I got lucky. I went back in.
Yeah.
But I remember getting an inReach, thinking, well, maybe I'll be there to help, because I was off. I'd taken off for my elk hunt, and I got lucky. I had help packing out, so I was like, I might as well offer help. And like
You had
hours
horses.
go by, hours and nothing. I'm like, well, I guess they're good. And then you send me another inReach like, this is not a great situation. This is rough.
By
Like,
the
what
time
is
we
going
get back to
on?
camp, we're gonna really like to see your face.
What is going on? So we make a plan on the inReach, and I'm like, I generally know where camp is, but you can't send a camp pen because you don't have cell phone for service for the for Onyx. You're not near camp in the inReach, so I'm like, I'm
But you
just
can
gonna
tell
guess.
when I inReach, though, you can have
You get a
dot
spot,
with
yeah.
yes.
So I knew generally where you were,
Yeah.
but I loved getting those updates. Like, yeah, we're still trying to get the elk out of the hole.
Hours later. so we did. We cut it up and
Loaded the llamas.
loaded the llamas. Got the best picture of all time, and that was Brenda standing there with the elk antlers on her back, with Hershey in the background with a load of meat on him, with this rock face.
Oh, yeah, that was
That was like breathtaking. It's a cool shot. Yeah.
Yeah. So then the llamas just walked back up the hill.
We all lived happily ever after.
No,
Is that
that's not how it went
That's
at all.
no. What are you talking about?
We found
Our
again.
best llama was having a hard time even getting up the hill, and so we had traversed all around.
We didn't go that far before we realized, because these llamas had worked very hard for us, that at that point it was time to take the meat off the llamas.
So the
and
deboned
put it on
meat.
Mac.
The deboned meat. The deboned. That's not true. We carried them.
Llama number 7.
Yeah, Sasquatch number 2.
Oh,
AKA Mac. Wow. Insult of a lifetime. So we ended up taking the deboned meat,
yep.
not in packs or anything, just on saddles, and basically took all those off the llamas, and then we had to get the llamas up.
With
and
no meat at this point.
With no meat.
We
We had
just
to
needed
get
to
the
get
llamas
them to
out safely.
flat
These were
ground.
Which
borrowed
wasn't-
llamas from somebody that was very nice to us. And so we didn't want to redline these things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't
Sure.
Want,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're like, hey,
You want to be nice to the rental
yes.
car llamas.
Right, exactly. So
It was
we-
just too much for it.
It was
It
too
was
much.
too much
It
of
was
an
too-
incline.
too steep.
So was it hard for them
We
to
were
get
even
out
trying to
without
switch back.
weight?
No, they
No.
did okay.
They were fine.
okay.
They were
fine.
fine without weight.
Yeah.
Totally fine without weight.
Interesting.
Like Hershey was a stud, and he was like trying to go up the hill with the meat, and he like couldn't.
Yeah.
He
So-
almost fell over. Like
yeah,
it was like,
so
okay.
we're like, we didn't
Yeah.
go far before we're like, hey, we need to be kind to these llamas. And so we we didn't get more than 50 yards or
Yeah, no,
right.
25 yards. I mean, it just wasn't very far. And so we realized, okay, we are novice llama packers. And so we said we overpacked them. So let's pull everything off. And then now we have to walk the llamas out up to the top, just back to
Right.
the trail. But
Kinda-
even where we shot, I mean, probably a mile.
right where
straight
she shot
uphill.
the pole, basically.
Close to where we shot the bull.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you've already got the meat in the
saddlebag.
saddlebags.
All evenly weighted per pound. We take scales out there, a little
To get it-
handheld deal
Perfect.
Right.
to get it within a pound or two on each side. So we have it very exact at every saddlebag.
Which
weighs
takes
the
a
same.
while to
Yeah.
balance the weight.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it took a while. Remember?
Yeah. It did.
So
So we're doing that. We take it off. Adam and Brenda start leading the llamas up the hill. And we can't iterate enough how steep this hill is. We're like trying to get the bags off the llama and like set them down, and we have to like prop them against the tree.
'Cause
The
they're
first
rolling.
couple we put, they
the
just start
bags will
rolling.
just
Bags
roll
are
down
rolling
the hill.
down the hill.
You can't set it down
Oh
and
my
have it not roll down the
goodness.
hill.
So we're like slipping up this hill, just trying to get to a tree to like put them behind. Adam and Brenda start taking the llamas up the hill, and I'm like, all right, well, we're not getting out of here until the meat comes out. So I start taking one meat bag in both hands.
So 50 pounds in each hand.
Just start
Because we
Just
weren't prepared
Hulk
to pack
style.
it on our back at the
Mac
time.
carry the meat.
we just thought, well, it's got to go up only 500 yards. Let's not take time to pack it all in our packs and repack it all. Let's just manhandle
Plus,
it.
we're gonna have to take
Yeah.
it back out and put it back on the llamas, and we're
Yeah,
trying to
we
get
want
out
to
today.
put it on the llamas anyways.
Yeah.
So we're
Yeah.
like, let's just keep it in the saddlebags and put 50 pounds in each hand while carrying the elk antlers on the back, in our day pack, in our rifle, that kind of stuff.
So
It
what
was
ends up
complicated.
happening is because this hill is so slick and so steep, you can't really like walk up it with the bags. So I start chucking
You have to
the
heave
bags.
it. You basically
up the hill.
heave it, get up to heave it like
Oh
5
my
feet.
goodness.
And you did that
Brutal.
the entire way.
You
The
did it the
entire
whole way up.
The entire
Brutal.
way.
It was
So we ended up taking like one and the llamas. Mac had 2, I think, and then we had to do trips.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
then we were
We had
just
to go
going
back down.
You're shuttling it
back and
back up.
forth. At this point, it's getting warm, and if you haven't seen Mac likes to lift weights. He eats healthy. And he
Yeah.
had his T-shirt on. It looked like we brought some like mountain specimen out here to like manhandle our bags going up.
The
and
whole
down
day
the
we're like,
hill,
I'm
so.
so glad Mac's here.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's in the interview. If you come to be a content creator for Weatherby, like you have to work out.
I think the words I was like, what is our other duties?
Other duties as assigned.
Brenda does job descriptions.
Yeah.
Other duties as assigned.
I was joking. It's like my job description. It's like, well, it said must be occasionally able to get up from a desk, lift 25 pounds occasionally.
Oh, yeah.
Brenda's like, or other duties as assigned.
Yeah, that physical requirements section, right?
Yeah.
I was like, I don't think this was in the job description.
That's great.
And you loved
But it was a blast. Yeah, I had a blast up there with you guys.
Yeah.
I like hard work, so it was.
Tell everybody this. How tough is Mrs. Weatherby?
Yeah.
Way back, rewind to the very first part of this. Brenda tore blisters off her feet on day 1 of this 55-mile trip
I forgot about those blisters.
and walked the whole time
Yeah.
with raw backs of her feet. I was like,
That's hard.
me and Adam were alone at some point. I can't remember what. I was like, where did you find this girl?
Yeah.
Crazy.
So while you guys are struggling to get the meat up the mountain, I grab Micah.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out to Micah. He was on our last podcast as well, but and he's never been to this area. I'd been up once before, and he's like, "So where are they?" I'm like, "Well, I don't know exactly."
I gave you a pit you had.
I had a general idea, but I didn't know for sure because I hadn't been there. But so we get pretty close, and the trail was slushy because it had snowed and it was getting warmer, like you were saying. And we roll up and we see a llama. I'm like, well, we're at the camp.
Roll up?
Well,
Walk
walk
up.
up. We
Yes.
walk up. You know, we got some swagger as we walk. So we're rolling. So we see the teepee tents. I'm like, that's the teepee tents I expected to see. But like, I know all of you guys, and like, this camp looked like it looked rough. The teepees, they had so much melted snow. It's probably white when you left that morning.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
it was like there were pools. And I'm like, there's no room for people in these teepees. And like, it looked rough. I'm like, what has been going on here? And then Micah and I are like, so here's camp. Where are they? Like, you had...
We told you.
You had messaged...
We're at the
Inreach
hellhole.
messaged me like 8 hours before this.
And didn't he like text you or reach you and just go, like, hey, start taking down stuff,
Yes.
right? 'Cause
Yeah,
we were like,
we
we got to
did.
get out of here.
We did. So we just started,
Yeah.
like, I don't know what's what or whose is what, but we just kind of started doing some
I tell
stuff.
you what, though, you guys, that was like the MVP moment right there. Like
Yeah.
coming back and camp was packed.
Not fully. No, we were starting to
No,
tear it
you
down because
guys
we
felt
weren't
this.
there for probably more than 15 or 20 minutes
Oh, no.
before
Yeah.
you guys came in.
Yeah.
Not to
When
mention
you guys rolled in with
2
the
fresh
llamas.
backs.
Fresh help is always.
Yeah,
really
that
Yes.
was awesome. That was good.
But we
But-
made it. We made it out of the hellhole with all Brent, and we eventually got the meat back on the llamas when we were on some more level ground.
Yeah.
And started to make our way back, and that's where we ran into Luke and Micah there to
Yeah.
help us out.
And then I got to experience the llamas for the first
Ha.
time. Like, really,
Packing out
we
at
got
night in the dark with Hershey.
we got everything. It took a while to pack up
Yeah.
all of camp, and then I didn't know what to expect with the llamas. I had just packed my elk out on a horse, so I like kind of got the general. I hadn't hunted on horseback before, so I got the general idea. You got to balance the weight, put the panniers on, and but it was a lot different with the llamas putting the panniers on than it was on the horse because the horse just stood there like no big deal. Not the llamas.
Had to go on llama lockdown.
Those llamas don't seem. They didn't care once they're loaded up, but while you're loading them up, they're not loving life.
No.
Once you
definitely
get
not.
them loaded, they just
Like,
hum
oh,
and
no
sing
big
and
deal.
they love it. Yeah, it's just getting them loaded.
Yeah.
And then
cool.
and then we had to get down the mountain.
And kind of packed out sunset, got some awesome, man, it was just such a beautiful evening. Like
Yeah.
the sun kind of came out. We had, 2 nice bowls on our backs, a thing full of meat,
Yep.
a couple great friends helping us pack it out. It couldn't have ended better.
Yeah.
It was a,
It was cool. I was so happy to be able to help. It was really neat.
yeah.
It was a crazy
And then-
trip.
Then the close to the story, this is a good one. Could be embarrassing, but I think it's good. So we roll into town, and Brenda and I, we usually eat pretty healthy. I hadn't eaten McDonald's in years. We don't eat fast food, but we'd been in the backcountry for 5 days, and we said, we roll into town in Sheridan, Wyoming. The only place you can find super, super late at night is McDonald's.
Yeah.
So we
no-
decide,
there's
and then
nothing
it's
open.
only the drive-thrus
Taco
open,
Bell.
probably
She's
especially
knocking on
because of
Taco Bell.
COVID. So we go to McDonald's and try to find something that's not going to kill us on the menu, and we order it. And then we have, a horse trailer with 6 llamas in the back, and we roll through the drive-thru. It's pouring rain. And then Brenda, at that point, she took off her wet pants. She was in her long johns.
Yeah.
And then she
Naturally.
goes,
Yeah.
I ordered it with a side of barbecue sauce. Give me the barbecue sauce. By this point, we've been in the backcountry a while.
McDonald's hamburger, you got us.
So she ordered it, with no mayo. She didn't do the mayo thing, does barbecue. So she just gets out of the car, starts running her long johns across the parking lot. And she can't go up, so she goes and runs around. There's a car, waiting to get their food. And up runs Brenda Weatherby in her long johns, going in the rain, through the window going,
Oh, so because you're in the drive-through window.
Yes.
Because you can't go inside
Correct.
because of COVID.
Right.
Yeah.
So we drove up and we're in our horse trailer, so she runs around
like,
outside.
Brenda.
She can't go outside, and then she goes up and it's pouring rain. She's in her long johns asking for barbecue sauce. She goes, "Excuse me, sir, I'm sorry," to the guy in the car, and she looks over and it's our IT guy. It was Mason.
Oh, that is awesome. You're standing in your long johns.
She's in her long johns going, "Where's my barbecue sauce?"
I didn't know that part.
I've never heard.
That was the close of the trip at midnight in Sheridan, Wyoming, with llamas in the back. We got 2 bull elk popping out of the back of the truck, and there's Brenda in her camo long johns running across the McDonald's parking lot, and that was the end of the story.
Wow.
I'm just picturing the Notebook, the raining scene. Only it's Brenda and her long johns. Give me the barbecue sauce. I didn't know that. That's hilarious.
That's a great story. I'd heard bits and pieces of the story, but not all together. And man, what an adventure! So, Brenda, would you do that again?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah. Super fun.
Tough woman.
You can always do anything for 5 hours or even 5 days. And I think there's a limit to, hard, but those hards are really cool. And yeah, I wouldn't have as many adventures that I could remember if I didn't, commit to the hard part. So for some reason, they're always hard. I never get an easy one, but that's okay.
It's hunting.
Yeah.
It
Keeps you
is.
coming back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun.
Yeah.
Well-
and Luke went and got his first bull elk here in Wyoming.
did,
During
yeah.
it, he was off in his general unit.
Yeah,
Along with the other plebeians.
I saw a lot more orange hats than you guys saw.
Yes.
That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, congrats though, man. It's
Yeah,
exciting
it was
too,
great.
so,
And then
yeah.
I shot mine in a blizzard last
Yeah.
light and got it all not processed, but quartered, hung, and packed some of it out, and then posted about it. And a friend was like, "Hey, I'm not doing anything tomorrow. You want to use my horses and we'll go get it out?"
friend.
And I'm like, "Yes." Does anybody say no to that? So that was awesome.
Yeah,
So
It's good to have friends.
so
Yeah.
I felt very blessed to have a good friend that helped me. So I was happy to be able to help you guys because I got out relatively easy.
Well, that's what you do. You help others and
Yep.
pack it out, and they come help you out. And it's kind of the way it goes here. It's fun being in Wyoming and just the culture of hunting around hunting season and all those different things. So, but I mean, don't move here. Taxes are high. The weather's
It's
bad.
terrible.
Yep.
Yeah,
Not a
it
lot
was
of
so
animals.
cold. So
It
cold,
was
really.
cold.
It was cold. That's
Yes.
true.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Great story. Thank you guys for sharing it.
Of course.
Yep. Mac, thanks for coming.
Hey,
And
I'm
VP.
looking forward to next year or this year, I guess.
Yep.
Let's do it.
Way to go, llama number 7.
You get a T-shirt.
Thanks.
All right. Well, till next time, we're signing off.